I'm the bad guy. Duh.
All right, in 5, 4, 3, 2. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the Be the Villian podcast, where we take real life issues and correlate them with God and spirituality. I am your host, Danielle Grace. How y'all doing? How y'all feeling? I'm feeling good. Just a disclaimer, because no video, there's no video for this podcast episode. I know there wasn't a video on the last podcast episode, but y'all can't even cap it to y'all. I don't know. I just feel like I've been putting a lot of pressure on myself all around and just carrying so much unnecessary stress. And honestly, I'm just trying to live a free life, just trying to do whatever I feel like I want to do without feeling like I'm being forced to do so, right? Yeah, you feel me? And that's pretty much what we're talking about today. Is just, it's not even a teaching moment. It's just more so like a reminder to really give yourself some grace, because you are doing the best you can. Yeah, so with that being said, let's just go ahead and hop right into it. So if you're anything like me, you're slowly but surely shifting into a new season of your life, which is obviously a good thing. However, if you're anything like me, you put a lot of pressure on yourself to do so that you can be. And this episode, I want to truly illuminate the trait of learning how to give yourself some grace. I think a part of this mindset comes from adapting to the hustle culture. Society has progressed to believe that the grind doesn't stop. And if you guys listened to last week's episode, I mentioned how I'm currently learning how to free myself from the shackles of being a societal guinea pig, aka a guinea pig of society. I just feel like hustle culture is such a freaking scam. We illuminate or we praise hustle culture, but then get confused when burnout happens. Learn that you don't have to go 100% all of the time. You need time to recharge. When we think of being our highest selves and becoming our higher selves, understand that to be a boss, you have to prioritize yourself first. So by prioritizing yourself first, you have to know how to hold yourself accountable while also giving yourself some grace. Because let's think about it. If you're at the top of the pyramid, if you come crumbling down, what do you think is going to happen to your empire? If you don't know how to handle the stress, not even handle the stress and balance. It's not even the fact of handling the stress. It's balancing the stress, giving yourself that grace. If you don't know how to have balance, how do you expect to be more than what you are now? If you have a bigger audience and you're getting a lot more attention than what you're used to now, you have to know how to really carry yourself, because you can't let everything break you down. If you often find yourself burnt out, it's best to figure out why. Personally, I've been trying to learn the difference between being productive and just keeping busy. Personally, one of my indications of burnout is feeling very overwhelmed, especially when I try to create to-do lists of tasks I overestimate myself to complete in one day. Because there's a difference between having goals and having unrealistic expectations. And if you find yourself dealing with burnout quite often and just, struggling to get out of a burnout funk, especially after a long period of time, definitely go ahead and check out my episode. I think it's called Fighting Back Against Seasonal Depression or Spiritual Warfare or something like that. I just pretty much talk about why that's happening and understanding why that's happening. Just a brief little run back. It's happening because obviously the enemy, the devil, knows that you are approaching a very big breakthrough, and he don't want that for you. So he's gonna try his best to stop and block all of your blessings. So by you giving in to that slump, that funk, and not, trying to do that self-work to pull yourself out of that, you're pretty much giving into his tactics. And if y'all are new here, I always say you, simply because, one, I listen to these back. These are pretty much my personal audio diaries that I just pretty much make public. So anything that I talk about is something that I've been through. Because I used to always say, I'm not going to start a podcast because I don't have nothing to talk about. Like, I have stuff to talk about, but I don't have, things or the status to back me up. And that's false. Like I said, I recently just started getting into this mindset of these are my personal audio diaries that I'm just sharing, rather than, I'm putting this out to help other people overcome what I've gone through. Now, of course, that's my goal, and that's something that I, dream for Be the Villain. I want people to understand that they're not alone and that I've gone through the same type of issues, or that people can listen to these episodes because obviously by the title, they resonate with it. But to think that I was going to withhold my gift because I just felt like I didn't have the status was just crazy. Like, that's wild to think. So on my channel, I always joke about me having ADHD. I guess that's like a coping mechanism, but lately it's been really beating my ass. Like, God being God, he showed me Haley Gamba's latest video, and it was titled Mastering Discipline for Procrastinators and ADHD/neurodivergent People. And I had to go ahead and listen to that because, y'all, when I say it's really been, we've been in a tussle and I've been losing, like, we've been in a tussle and I've been losing, for real. So Haley Gamba, she is a YouTuber, for those of you guys that don't know. And basically in that video, she read me for filth. I, of course, always had a generalization of what ADHD was, but never really truly understood how it affected me emotionally. Like, obviously, I know how it showed up physically and, like, just different traits that I had. Like, sometimes I can't sit down. Like, I can't sit down. My mind is like brain fog. It like runs at 1,000 miles per hour. I can skip from conversation to conversation or forget what I was saying mid-sentence clearly. Like, me editing, and I just be like, wow, girl, like, you was on track and you just stop and just talk. Just like, what was I talking about again? Like, yeah, that's me. Anyways, disclaimer, by no means am I claiming to be a doctor. I'm just simply sharing my research and just the information that I've learned. So in Haley's video, she mentioned the term inattentive ADHD and gave great tips on how she deals with it. And I've been subscribed to her for a while, but this video was probably the most relatable video that I felt she's ever put out. Anyways, I always do some researching while episode drafting. So I researched how inattentive ADHD shows up in women. And this information comes from, I think it's chad.org or CHADD. I don't know. I'm not sure if that's an acronym or what, but chad.org. And it mentioned how women with inattentive ADHD are likely to feel as though they're always living in a constant state of stress. And that's me. Like, I literally put so many unrealistic expectations for myself for no reason. And then when it doesn't happen, or when I can't achieve everything that I said I want to do, whether it's in 1 hour, 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, whatever it is, I feel so discouraged, like I didn't do enough, or, I let myself down, and just always feeling like, I don't know, just that just really gets me into a funk. And for those of you guys that are like me, you know that you try to prevent a funk from happening because those funks be funkying. Like, it's a real funky funk. So it also mentioned how these women oftentimes sink into feelings of inadequacy and self-blame. And that's exactly what I just described. Like, I always put the blame on myself for not doing enough, rather than looking at it from a point of view of, girl, you set these you set these unrealistic expectations on yourself. Like, what did you expect? What did you really expect? You thought you was gonna be able to ride a donkey from Florida to Narnia and back in less than an hour, and you're mad that you only made it down the street. Like, and then, I also started thinking about that podcast episode that I put out talking about, like, rushing to the finish line to end up in last place. Like, there's no finish line, you guys. There is an imaginary finish line that, society pushes. And no, like, I refuse to compete in that race, because there is no race. Naturally, I put so much pressure on myself, but I'm starting to realize that it's just gotten worse over the time. So I guess as I get older, it just intensifies, really. I turned 20 this year, and I just genuinely want to teach myself balance. I used to always say, if it's something you can change or fix it. And if you can't, let it be. However, it was so hard for me to know what actually wasn't in my control. So from that mindset, I'm starting to shift into the mindset of believing that God has already prepared the way for me. He's just preparing me for the journey, because life shouldn't be a challenge. It's meant to be lived by you, for you, because nobody is responsible for your happiness but you. So the article also described how growing up, some girls with inattentive ADHD were very bright and intelligent and got good grades, but no one knew the struggles and anxiety they had to overcome. And it wasn't because, nobody paid attention to them. I mean, in some cases, that's probably what it was, but it was just a personal, it was a personal thing for them. And for them, that's me. And I know this information because I was one of those girls that, went hard. I went crazy. Like, even up until college, you guys, I graduated college in May of 2023, so May of this year. And when I tell you, I really, really had the worst types of breakdowns this year when it came to my education and stuff like that, because I simply thought my tier of honors was going to bump down. Not even me not get it, period, just bump down. And I honestly don't know why. Like, looking back at it, I understand why my family laughed at me, but like, in the moment, that was some serious stuff for me. Like, it's not even the fact that I don't understand, it's just the fact that I'm starting to come to an understanding, if that makes sense. So it's not that I don't understand, it's just that I'm just now starting to realize why that was. Because again, I always had a generalization of ADHD, but never really understood how it took a toll on me emotionally. So college was probably the worst it's ever really been, because on top of me already being a crazy inattentive ADHD having girl, I'm not calling people with inattentive ADHD crazy, I'm calling myself crazy, by the way. On top of me being that, I was also adulting. So yeah, yeah, I understand why I was going loco. So again, like I said, I'm just really starting to come to terms with the fact that life shouldn't be a challenge. It's meant to be lived. Of course, lived by you, for you, because again, nobody is responsible for your happiness but you. And if you need help distinguishing the difference between living and surviving, I highly recommend checking out last week's episode. I think it's titled Learning How to Live, Surviving versus Living, or something like that. And that should definitely, give you some good generalizations on the difference. So for my girlies or my guys that are similar to me, just a word of advice: be kind to yourself, because you only get one body. Say goodbye to self-destruction, because you are exactly where you're supposed to be. I saw this quote that said, "No one is cheering for me louder than the girl I used to be. She sees me healing, being strong, and living a life beyond her wildest dreams." And that's true success right there. Believe it or not, you guys, you are sitting in an answered prayer. You may have to look a little deeper to figure out what exactly that is, but I know I don't have to look that deep. It's very much right in front of my face. But again, I mentioned this in one of my podcast episodes before. I really can't remember which one it was. I think it was Racing to the Finish Line. I think. Yeah. Just constantly worrying about the future that you forget to live, in the present and really be thankful for what's right in front of you. You may be thankful, but really dwell on what's in front of you and just kind of, sit with it for a little bit. Get closer to God so that the two of you, and only the two of you, can walk side by side on your journey called life. Now, of course, as time goes on, people may join you in that journey. But as of right now, when you're just trying to find yourself and just trying to understand, why you act the way you act and react the way you do, and do the things you do, just, write it out with God. Because if you don't know how to truly love yourself, nobody will know how to love and care for you. So, yeah. So, of course, just always remember to give yourself some grace because, again, you are doing the best you can. Thank you guys for so much. Thank you guys for so much. What? Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this week's episode. I truly do appreciate each and every one of you. If you are new to Be the Villain, this is your first episode, make sure you, download it, subscribe, however you're listening to this. And, tune in each Wednesday because we lit or whatever, period. And if you are a returning villain, you already know what's up. I will see you next week. Bye, y'all. Mwah.